Take a quiet moment now to gently step away from the busy thoughts in your mind and listen to your inner feelings. You might have noticed a strange, restless sensation lately, a tightness in your chest or a sudden thought of a certain person, suggesting that an invisible talk is going on underneath the surface. This inner signal is not just in your head. It is a clear sign that energy is moving in your direction right now, and you needed to know that what you are sensing is real. Your soul picks up on gentle waves of information that move faster than any text or phone call, showing you that a change is starting. If you're feeling that restless energy with someone right now, hit like so the universe brings you more clarity, and type yes if your intuition has been telling you something is shifting with them. None of the emotional load you have carried has been without purpose. And that steady pull in your heart is your inner guide, letting you know this connection still has unfinished parts. Often, right before a big shift happens in the outside world, a quiet tension builds up. And that is exactly where you stand as small openings and gentle cracks in the silence finally begin to appear. Your place in this person's life has not disappeared, and while you dealt with doubts, a quiet change has been happening deep inside them as their inner walls of fear and pride start to break down. The strong sense you have picked up lately comes because they are now feeling emotions they can no longer keep hidden away from the truth. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that they're not imagining these signs. The link between you goes far beyond simple logic, and it cannot be removed by time or space alone. To really see why this change is occurring now, and why the coming days will feel different, it helps to look at what this person has been experiencing during the quiet period. They have been moving carefully while keeping their distance, yet still watching from afar. They found themselves stuck between their own worries and a strong pull toward you that they tried hard to ignore for a long time. During your time apart, they lived in ways that left them feeling empty inside. On the surface, they may have looked calm and in control of their life, as if nothing had changed. They put up a mask, not only for other people, but also for themselves, so they could believe that walking away was the correct choice. But as time went on, that mask grew too heavy to keep carrying. Underneath it, they faced a hidden struggle that no outsider could notice. Night after night, an inner battle continued as they tried to push away their true emotions. They used logical reasons to explain the separation and told themselves it was the safer path to follow. Some of this came from pride, some from fear, and some from not knowing how to deal with deep feelings. Many times, people step back, not because they feel nothing, but because the emotions feel too strong to handle safely. Being truly seen by another person can feel overwhelming, and it may bring up worries about losing control or hurting someone. Yet when two paths are meant to meet in a meaningful way, no amount of thinking can block that connection forever. Slowly, the protective walls they built have started to weaken, and they now notice that life without you feels less colorful and missing real meaning. A new awareness is growing inside them that they have not been living in a true way, as if they were acting in a role that no longer fits them well. Every attempt to move forward and create more space was met with something that gently pulled their thoughts back to you again and again. This goes deeper than simply missing a person because it touches their whole sense of who they are. It has become a turning moment for them, almost like a personal awakening. Write 111 in the comments if these words are already touching your spirit deeply, and stay with me as the story continues, because what comes next can change everything. There were times when they tried to quiet these feelings by keeping busy with noise, other people, or anything that could fill the empty space. Even then, comparisons would appear in their mind, thoughts they might never say out loud, but ones that kept bringing them back toward you. All of this has been growing quietly underneath, leading to the shift you are starting to feel now. Something is changing, and this time it cannot be pushed away so easily again. Anyone can distract themselves for a while and pretend to move on. But eventually, the deeper part of a person grows tired of playing that game. And that is precisely where this person stands today. The life they built to avoid facing their real emotions is no longer satisfying them the way it did at the beginning. They once believed that distance would make the bond weaker, and that silence would slowly remove the strong feelings between you. They told themselves that enough time would cause the memories to lose power, and your presence would fade into the background of their daily world. But the opposite took place instead. The longer time passed, the clearer their feelings became, and instead of forgetting you, they started noticing your absence in everyday moments they never expected. In quiet times before sleep, in normal talks that suddenly felt empty, or in busy places where they still felt alone, even with people around. Even in the middle of noise, something inside kept returning their thoughts to you. This is when a deeper understanding started to grow. They began to see that what they shared with you was not an ordinary attachment or passing excitement. It was a special connection that reached parts of them no one else had ever touched. That new realization changed how they saw everything, because once a person knows a bond is rare, they cannot treat it lightly anymore. Their mind may still try to fight it, but their heart starts speaking with a stronger voice than pure logic. There have been nights when they sat by themselves, remembering conversations you may have forgotten long ago. Small details that once seemed unimportant now carry great emotional weight in their memory, such as the way you looked at them during hard times, or how your presence brought them calm without any effort. They remember how they could be themselves beside you without always pretending. That kind of emotional safety is very special, and losing it leaves an empty space that is hard to fill with anything else. At first, they tried to ignore this truth, and pride told them they could keep going, as if nothing important had happened. But pride cannot win forever against real emotional truth, and eventually something deeper breaks through. And now, it has broken through for them. This person has started to view the connection in a new light. They no longer see it as something they can choose or replace whenever they want. Instead, they are beginning to understand that meeting you changed them in a lasting way that cannot be undone. There is also an important change happening inside you during this same period. Even if you still think about them and wonder what might come next, you are no longer in the same emotional place you used to be. Something inside you has grown stronger and wiser through all of this. You have learned how difficult it is to keep seeking clear answers from someone who is not ready to give them. You have felt what it is like to stretch yourself too far while trying to hold a connection by yourself. Slowly, through the confusion and quiet times, you started taking back your own energy. That change is more powerful than you may realize, because when you stopped forcing things, the energy between you shifted completely. There was a time when your thoughts always reached toward them, and your feelings depended on their replies or attention. But eventually you grew tired of waiting and overthinking and carrying the whole emotional load alone. So you gently let go, not because you stopped caring, but because your inner self knew that your own peace was important too. That choice created a strong, energetic change. When someone stays constantly available, their presence can sometimes be taken for granted without anyone noticing. But when that energy quietly pulls back and turns inward, the absence becomes something impossible to ignore. That is exactly what this person is sensing now. They notice your distance in a new way because your energy no longer reaches out with the same urgency it once had. And instead of weakening the bond, this has made them face what they were truly losing. This explains why they have grown more restless lately. Part of them senses that you are changing, and the version of you who waited endlessly is fading away. That understanding creates a sense of urgency inside them, as they realize time may not be unlimited anymore. The strange thing about emotional truth is that it often arrives later than expected. People sometimes only see the real value of something after they have lived without it for a while, and that lesson can bring pain. This person is now facing the results of every moment they waited, every feeling they pushed aside, and every time fear guided their choices. For the first time, they cannot easily escape these realizations anymore. There is another important layer to this connection that you should know about. Sometimes, time apart is not meant to break a bond, but to bring out the parts inside both people that still need healing. Distance makes emotional patterns very clear and shows where fear or insecurity lives. It also reveals where people lose themselves while trying to keep love alive. This separation has changed both of you in different ways. It helped you find your own worth without needing their approval, and it made them experience life without your presence in it. That is why the energy feels stronger now, because hidden things under avoidance are coming out into the open. This person is starting to realize they do not just miss your attention, but they miss your energy, your understanding, your emotional depth, and the way they felt beside you. That realization is becoming too strong for them to ignore any longer. Type 222 in the comments if you already feel this shift happening, because the next part goes even deeper into what is taking place inside their heart right now. What they are going through is not a short wave of feelings that fades after a few hard nights. It has become something steady that stays with them through daily thoughts, whether they fight it or not. There are times when they suddenly pause in the middle of normal activities because a memory of you pulls their full attention away. A song, a smell, or a casual word from someone else can bring you strongly to mind. Even certain hours of the day now carry your energy in their thoughts. At first, these moments bothered them because they wanted to stay in full control of their emotions. They hoped they could choose exactly when to think about you and when to stop. But deep emotional truth does not follow ordinary logic, and the stronger the bond, the more naturally it rises up by itself. Now they are reaching a point where fighting the connection feels more tiring than simply accepting what they feel. This is why inner changes are happening so quickly for them. The walls they once used for protection no longer feel safe, and instead they feel like isolation. The silence that once seemed necessary now feels heavy and empty. That emptiness has pushed them into deep thinking, and they look back at the connection from a fresh point of view. They remember times when you tried to understand them while they kept their feelings guarded. They recall moments when you showed patience while they responded with hesitation. Now those memories hold new meaning because they can finally see the real value that was offered to them. Real love often feels simple when it is there, but once it is gone, people suddenly understand how rare that simplicity truly was. This person is beginning to recognize that your presence gave them something special they have not easily found anywhere else, such as emotional depth, honesty, peace, and the sense of being understood without always explaining themselves. That kind of bond leaves a lasting mark on the soul. The more they look for it in other places, the clearer your importance becomes to them. There were nights when they tried hard to move on completely, only to have their thoughts return to you before the night was over. There were times they attempted to cut the emotional tie, only to feel an even stronger pull afterward. It seems that every try to escape the connection only makes them more aware of it. This happens because certain bonds are built through deep recognition, where something inside them saw something real inside you. Once that kind of recognition takes place, it becomes very hard to remove completely. But the most important thing right now is that you are no longer in the same emotional position you held before. There was a time when you might have given up your own peace to keep holding on. There was a time when their silence strongly controlled how you felt each day. But something has changed inside you as well. You started to see that love should not mean losing yourself completely. You began to understand that clear emotions matter, and your value does not drop just because someone else has trouble seeing it. That new understanding changed your energy, and whether they know it fully or not, they can sense the difference. They feel that you are no longer chasing them emotionally the way you once did. They notice your energy has grown calmer, more centered, and less desperate for answers. And strangely, that is what has made their own awareness of you grow stronger. When someone stops forcing love and returns to their own self, their energy becomes powerful in a new way. You became still, and in that stillness, they finally had to listen to their own feelings clearly. This explains why their inner struggle has grown so strong lately. Part of them wants to reach toward you with honesty, while another part still fears being open. Part of them wants full certainty before taking any risk, but another part knows that waiting too long could cost them something precious. That inner tension grows every day, and although they may look normal on the outside, there is constant movement happening within. Their mind keeps returning to your connection, and their emotions will not let them stay comfortably away from the truth any longer. The truth is becoming very clear now, that you matter deeply to them, not in a surface way or for convenience, but in a manner that has changed their emotional world forever. That realization can feel scary for someone who tried to stay in control for a long time, because once a person fully accepts how much someone means to them, they also have to face the chance of loss, vulnerability, and emotional openness. And that is exactly what they are facing at this time. For many days, fear guided their choices, including fear of being hurt, fear of losing control, and fear of opening up too much. But fear eventually reaches its limit, and the pain of avoiding the truth becomes heavier than the fear of honesty. That is the stage they are slowly reaching now. The silence between you is no longer empty for them, but has become emotionally loud. Every day they stay disconnected, the awareness inside grows stronger. Every attempt to push the connection down now creates more pressure instead of relief. This is why you have felt such powerful, energetic shifts lately, because something inside them is preparing for real change. It is not forced or sudden, but a genuine emotional recognition that changes how a person sees their whole life. They are starting to understand that losing you would not just mean losing a person, but losing a part of themselves they only found through this bond. That kind of realization changes people in deep ways, and whether they show it openly yet or not, their heart is moving closer to a moment when silence no longer feels possible. The more they try to create distance, the more clearly your absence shows itself. This has created an inner contradiction for them, because one side wants to stay protected from hurt, while the other side cannot stop thinking about reaching out again. They imagine different scenarios in their mind, such as what would happen if they contacted you, and whether you would still care, or if it might already be too late. These questions keep circling inside them, and what once felt easy to avoid now feels urgent. There are moments when they almost send a message or call, but fear stops them at the last second. Fear has been their main protection for a long time, but it is slowly losing its power. Not all at once, but day by day, the emotional truth grows heavier than the safety those old walls provided. While all of this is happening inside them, something important is also taking place inside you. You are becoming clearer emotionally, and the strong attachment that once caused anxiety is turning into calm awareness. You are learning the difference between forcing results and letting truth show itself in its own time. That shift changes your energy in a big way, because you are no longer chasing certainty or trying to control every outcome. You are no longer making yourself smaller while waiting for someone else to choose you. Instead, you are gently returning to your own self. And in an interesting way, that is exactly what strengthens the energetic pull between you. Because real energy becomes magnetic when it is no longer desperate or needy. This person can feel that something about you has changed, even if they cannot explain it with words. They sense that your energy is no longer stuck in waiting, and that you are becoming more grounded, peaceful, and whole. That realization creates both fear and admiration inside them. Fear because they see they could really lose you now, and admiration because they notice a strength in you they may not have valued fully before. This is why the connection feels so intense at this time. Two inner changes are happening at the same time, as you learn to stand in your own worth without needing constant outside approval. They are learning what life feels like when the person who truly understood them stops chasing emotionally. That mix creates strong clarity. There is also something deeper happening under all of this, because the connection is moving from confusion toward real truth. Before, there may have been mixed signals, emotional ups and downs, fear-based choices and avoidance. But now, a more honest path is starting to appear. They can no longer hide comfortably from their feelings, and you can no longer comfortably lose yourself trying to hold on. That changes the whole situation, and the old way of connecting cannot continue anymore. Only something more real and honest can move forward from here. This stage feels important because you may notice times lately when their energy suddenly feels very close. There are moments when they enter your thoughts with strong intensity, or when emotional waves seem to come from nowhere. This occurs because strong emotional focus creates real energetic movement. The more they think about you with feeling, the more clearly you sense them on an inner level. Right now, their focus on you has grown very strong as they reflect, question, and feel deeply. The part of them that once tried to stay detached is starting to break down. Deep inside, they already know an important fact, that no one else has touched them the way you have. No one else brought the same emotional depth, recognition, or feeling of being fully seen. That awareness has changed how they view the entire connection. What they once saw as uncertain now feels meaningful. What they once avoided now feels hard to escape, and what they once questioned now feels clearer every day. Clarity creates movement, even though emotional growth rarely happens instantly. There are still fears to face, patterns to understand, and truths to accept. But something basic has already shifted. They are no longer unaware of this connection, and they feel it fully now. Once someone reaches that point, silence becomes much harder to keep. You are also entering a new emotional stage, where you realize your peace matters more than endless uncertainty. Your worth does not vanish in someone else's confusion, and love should not demand constant suffering to prove itself. This understanding is making you stronger in a healthy way. Strength that comes from self-respect changes everything, because now, whatever happens next, you will not lose yourself in the process. That is why this connection feels different from before, because both of you have grown. The old imbalance cannot continue in the same way. Something more honest is trying to come through, all the silence, reflection, and emotional pressure. Very soon, something will need to give, because real emotional truth cannot stay hidden forever before it asks for expression. Type 444 in the comments if you feel this emotional shift strongly now, because the final part shows what happens when the truth inside them can no longer be held back. Something inside them has reached a point where keeping these feelings pushed down is no longer possible. The silence that once felt protective has started to work against them, and the distance they created to avoid openness now feels heavier than being open. That is the last stage before real change arrives. For a long time, they thought avoidance would keep them safe. They believed staying guarded long enough would make the connection fade away naturally. But every try to disconnect only showed how deeply this bond is rooted. Now they stand face to face with a truth they cannot run from easily. You change them in a permanent way, and once someone realizes another person has altered how they experience love and connection, life cannot stay exactly the same. This has caused a deep emotional awakening inside them. They are starting to see that the peace they wanted never came from running away, but from being honest with their feelings, something they resisted for a long time. There are moments now when they feel very close to reaching out because the inner pressure grows so strong that silence almost breaks. They imagine talks with you and replay possible scenarios many times, thinking about what they would say if fear no longer stopped them. Slowly, fear is losing its hold, because there comes a point when losing someone feels more frightening than being emotionally open. That is the point they are getting close to now. But remember that their awakening is not the only important change here, because your growth matters just as much. You have changed too, and you are no longer the person who waited endlessly for reassurance. You are no longer giving up your own well-being to keep the connection going alone, or measuring your value by someone else's confusion. You have grown through the pain and learned to hold love without losing yourself in it. You have discovered that silence does not decide your worth, and genuine love should not leave you constantly doubting yourself. Because of that growth, your energy has become calmer, wiser, and stronger than before. Type, "I'm ready," if you're prepared for the shift that's coming. This is why the connection feels so different now, as the old way built on imbalance and chasing is ending. Something more honest is ready to take its place. Whether this person steps forward soon or not, one thing is already certain. The connection has changed both of you forever and forced you to face truths that could not stay hidden. It created real growth, self-awareness, and healing. Now the universe is gently guiding everything toward balance, not in a rushed way, but through emotional truth. There may still be uncertain moments ahead that ask for patience, and times when feelings feel strong again. But deep down, your intuition already knows what your thinking mind has found hard to explain. Something real is unfolding under the surface. The emotional walls are coming down, the fear is getting weaker, and the truth is speaking louder. The connection is moving toward a turning point. But the most important thing to remember is not to lose yourself while waiting for someone else to wake up fully. Keep choosing your own peace, keep building your life, and keep honoring your worth every day. Continue becoming the strongest and most grounded version of yourself. The deepest lesson here was never only about whether they return, but about you finally seeing your own value so clearly that no silence could take it away. That is the real transformation, and it is exactly what started this energetic shift in the first place. The moment you stopped chasing on the outside, the connection began changing on the inside. The moment you returned to yourself, they started to face what your absence really meant. That is why everything feels different now. This is no longer about confusion, but about growing clarity. The truth inside them has become too strong to ignore, and the truth inside you has become too strong to abandon. That is why this chapter feels so powerful, as two people stand at the edge of emotional honesty together. One is learning to face their feelings, while the other is learning to protect their peace without closing their heart. And that combination truly changes everything. So, if you have been feeling this emotional pull lately, trust yourself fully. If your intuition has been saying something is shifting, listen carefully to it. If your heart has sensed movement under the silence, you are not imagining anything. Something real is happening. But no matter what comes next, remember this clearly. You are already becoming whole. Not because someone finally chooses you, or because silence ends, or because every answer arrives right away. You are becoming whole because you stopped abandoning yourself while loving someone else. And that kind of inner healing changes your entire life in beautiful ways. If this message spoke deeply to your soul, write 555 in the comments below. And remember that sometimes the silence before a reunion is actually the time when everything inside both people is transforming the most. Like this video, comment which part spoke to you the most, and subscribe for more messages about soul connections and energetic shifts.